Well, let's speak to Professor Susanna Every-Palmer, who is head of the Department of Psychological Medicine at the University of Otago in Wellington. She previously co-authored a paper on the impact of harassment on the mental health of politicians. Professor Susanna, thank you for joining us. Now, we know politicians live stressful lives, and Nicola Sturgeon said that the increased brutality of politics was a reason for her stepping back. Now, you co-authored a paper on harassment of politicians in New Zealand. What did you find?
Yes, so we surveyed all the politicians in New Zealand about 8 years ago and had an incredible response rate. So 87% of politicians responded to our survey. And what we found that almost 9 out of 10 of them had suffered unwanted harassment. But the degree of harassment was also really high. And this is what surprised us, that it wasn't just unwanted communication, but politicians were having people turning up at their homes. They were being threatened, receiving death threats, and approached in public. And this was quite a chronic stressor for MPs in New Zealand, and they worried a lot about their staff and their families and their well-being as well.
Now, Ms Sturgeon said she was unable to go for a walk or go for coffee with friends. How might the fear of being unable to go out affect a person's life?
So there's being a politician, which is an incredibly tough job anyway, and then the added stressor of not being able to unwind for that. So the things that you and I might do to manage stress, go out for a walk, catch up with friends for a coffee, there's always the sense of hypervigilance there. If you have been approached, threatened in those kind of situations before, that could happen again. So an example might be if we heard a noise outside our house at night, we might assume it's the next door neighbour's cat into the rubbish again. But if people have come to your house at night, they know where you live, and you've been receiving these sorts of threats online, your first thought might go to the conspiracy theorist who sent you a photo of a carving knife and one of your kids.
Now, briefly, neither Ms Sturgeon or Jacinta Ardern said harassment was causes of their resignation. But how might that constant level of stress be a factor in a burnout situation?
Yeah, I think it's highly likely to add to that burnout, because it does mean that you don't get the chance to unwind and have time out. So a constant level of hypervigilance, activation of the sympathetic nervous system, and anxiety you might be feeling on behalf of others that you care about as well, that your job may be putting other people, your staff, or particularly your family at risk as well.
Professor Susanna Every-Palmer, thank you for your time.